Well, welcome back to Coffee and Questions. I'm so glad that you joined us here today. Here we like to take your questions about God and Christianity and the Bible and offer answers to you. And I like to imagine that we're just sitting across the table at a coffee shop enjoying a good conversation. So I hope you grabbed some coffee or maybe a chai or something else and are just taking a little break to have a conversation. I have with me today, I'm drinking a cherry coffee that I conveniently saved from church on Sunday morning, and I like a good cherry coffee, especially at this coffee shop at our church on Sunday mornings. They like to make what's called a choffee, where they add hot chocolate into your coffee, and so you do that with a cherry coffee like this, and it's like drinking chocolate covered cherries with a kick of caffeine. So it's a pretty good drink. So my daughter, she likes to tell this joke, and what she likes to say is she'll look at you and she'll ask you this question. She'll say, "Have you ever seen a sick fish?" And you'll think about it for a second, and you'll think about it, and you go, "I've seen dead fish. I've seen fish that are out in the air, out of water, but I don't know that I've ever seen a sick fish." And so you'll say, "No," and she'll look at you with a straight face and just say, "Me either." And I know that for some people that humor is a little too dry. I think it's pretty funny. And we may not have ever seen a sick fish, but we as humans do get sick. And of course that leads us to the question that we've been discussing the last few times that we've gotten together, which is, if God exists, why is there pain and suffering and evil in this world? And we kind of kicked that off a couple weeks ago. Last week we talked about what I was calling moral evil, or the evil that is caused by the choices that we as humans make. And so I'm not going to go into all of that. We talked about that in the last one, and I'll link that to the end of the video so you can watch that if you'd like to. But today I wanted to talk about what some people call natural evils. Evils like, sickness and hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes and very real natural disasters that cause problems for people's lives and hurt them and such. And first we got to understand, not everything that we term a natural disaster or natural evil is actually so much an evil caused by nature. Some of it is actually, let's imagine a famine. At first glance, that seems like, well, this is a natural evil. But in reality, if we who have more than enough are not sharing with those who have nothing, then the real issue isn't with what's happening in this world. It's with humanity, so it's back on humans' fault. But that doesn't explain the earthquakes and the hurricanes and sickness and broken legs and drowning and all things like that. So there are a few things, when we look at that and we kind of go, doesn't that point to the fact that an all-loving, all-good God does not exist? Doesn't the fact that we have these incidences where hundreds of people are hurt or damaged, or their lives are destroyed, doesn't that point to the fact that an all-loving, all-good God does not exist? And I'd say no. When we look at the world and say, something is wrong, when we say there's so much hurt and pain in this world, what we're actually doing? We're actually agreeing with God. God also, I believe, looks at this world, or the Bible, I think, supports this 100%. If you want to look at the Bible as a way of understanding God, God also looks at this world and is unhappy with it. He desires for it to be fixed. He tells us clearly in the Bible that the world is broken. He says it's groaning in pain, waiting to be made new. And he tells that in Romans 8. How do we know it is broken? And not just how the world was created. If we're going to say outside of the Bible, how do we know that this is a world that is broken, waiting to be made new? How can we know that? Well, I think simple observation will help us out. Let me consider this. Let me give you an example. All right. Think about the dichotomy of a childbirth. Imagine that you had the ability to go into a birthing suite in the process of a child being born. Perhaps your child, maybe a grandchild, I don't know, whatever it is, you're there in the midst of this new baby child, this human coming into the world, and you experience the joy and the awe of the experience of a new life coming into this world, and what that creates. You see the ecstasy in the eyes of the parents, the beauty of this young child, of course, after it's cleaned up, and the wonder of a new human being taking its first breath, yet his or her first breath. Yet, on the flip side, it is accomplished only through what? Great pain and anguish. There's the feelings of joy and expectancy and excitement. Yet there is also, as well, you can see the glimpses of fear and the pain that they're experiencing, and we can see the glimpse that the world is not as it's supposed to be. Here we have great beauty and great creation and great wonder mixed with a pain that seems almost out of place. We see that this experience was marred, has been broken, it's not all that it's supposed to be. And this is evident throughout creation, okay? So let's just, throughout all creation, you can see the intricate elements to it, the way that it's been designed. You think about the intricate food webs, the incredible designs of the human body, like our eyes and our hands, and even our pain system that keeps us from damaging ourselves, the complex information that is stored in DNA, the awe-inspiring instincts that are built into animals, and you begin to glimpse this beautiful and complex world. It's incredible, and we begin to go, man, this world could be perfect, but it's not. And we can see that there's this brokenness just seems out of place. And, doesn't even our hunger for a perfect world indicate something? I mean, hunger for food indicates that we're hungry and we should eat. And hunger for love causes us to pursue after love. And a thirst makes us desire water, and we fulfill it with that. And the fact that we hunger after a perfect world, doesn't that point to the idea, at least, that humanity was maybe at one time intended for a perfect world, or that there is a perfect world intended for them in the future? So if that's all true, I know the question is, why then doesn't God fix it? Why doesn't God just take care of all of these issues? I think that's a good question. In the Christian worldview, we believe that God is planning on fixing it. He's actually, we believe he's already working on it. He already has everything in place to fix the world. It's already happening, but he's waiting until the perfect time to accomplish that. All right. However, the big question is, can you take imperfect people into a perfect world? Would we not simply destroy it? Or on the other side of the question, conversely, would the perfect world perhaps destroy us? An interesting thought. So in order for God to fix the world, he has to fix humanity in order for us to be able to live in it, to fill into it, and fix us or remove us. And being a God of love, he doesn't want to remove us. He wants to give us the opportunity to choose to join him in the midst of this. And so it's logical, most logical, that God waits for the opportunity for everybody to have that choice to choose to follow him, to choose to desire this perfection. Or not necessarily perfection, but to be made new. All right? It reminds us that we are in a world, until then, the natural evils that we experience are a reminder that this world is not what it's supposed to be. That this world is broken. It reminds us that this world was perfect and now is broken and one day will be fixed. I know I didn't cover all the details, and a great resource that I would really encourage you to read that I was referencing as I wrote this was Philip Yancey's Where is God When It Hurts? He describes elegantly He describes in detail the purpose of pain and how it works to support life and health, and how it works in our own lives, and talks about the balancing act it would be to create a world. You know, how do you make a perfect world? Well, can't we have stronger bones so that we don't break them, and yet stronger bones mean denser and harder? And it's a balancing act. It's a real balancing act, and we gotta admit that. The other reference that I would encourage you to check out was a short video. It's about 3 minutes long by James Chong, I think is how you probably pronounce the name, called The Big Story Part 1. I'll link it down below in the description so you can check that out. I hope this helps. I know it is by no means a detailed answer. I know that by no means does this answer all of the questions. I'd love to continue to dive deeper into this, but you know, as I like to keep these videos a little bit short, not drag them on forever. We're gonna wrap it up at this point. Next week, we're gonna continue to discuss this. We're gonna finish up our discussion on this. We're gonna talk about how pain actually points to the evidence of God existing, and not him not existing, or. Yeah, anyways, you understand that. And then I have this great question that someone sent to me that I'm looking forward to answering, is how were people saved before Jesus? And this, of course, deals with the very concepts of salvation, and how does it work, and what is Jesus' role in all of it? And so it's a great question I'm looking forward to answering. And so I hope in maybe 2 weeks we'll address that, or at least begin to address that. And we can have some stimulating conversation on that. Now, as I go, I want to remind you that you are loved. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week.